Takulandirani ku AMTV Malawi kuchimake kwa nkhani zenizeni. Ngati nkhani imeneyo kuno kulibe, dziwani kuti nkhani imeneyo ndi yabodza.
While waiting for them, let me take this moment to recognize some of the people that have come to be with us this evening. The chairman and executive members of the Public Affairs Committee, there are 7 of them, and the ED Patrick Piri, who are here with us tonight. The moderator for Nkoma Synod, Reverend Masona Temba, and the executive of Nkoma Synod. The same applies to the moderator of Branta Synod and Reverends from Branta Synod. We also have the president of the Muslim Association of Malawi, as well as the president of the Quadria Association of Malawi present with us. My father, Pastor David Musa, who opened with a word of prayer in this evening. The father of Faith and Chisomo Musa is here with us tonight. All the religious leaders present this evening. The president and executive of Malawi Institute of Engineers and the CEO Wenga Wenga, as well as Engineer Kulemek and others here present with us tonight. I also see the Secretary General for Malawi Institute of Architects and all the architects present this evening. I've also seen the president and also members of the Surveyors Institute of Malawi present tonight. And also executive members of the Association of Consulting Engineers in Malawi. I know Engineer Sichinga delegated Paul and others to be present with us tonight, ASEM. And also members from Malawi Law Society and members from Malawi Institute of Chartered Accountants in Malawi. At the same time, I've seen my lecturer, Kodi Panobani professor, coach. Doc Panova, associate Nafike. Mujedo good. Bakandevu zaivi kukulat. Yes, he was my lecturer, Dr. Kocha, and also all lecturers present here, the dean and the registrar present here tonight. Thank you so much for coming, as well as I've seen Madam Cheka Chilenja and all politicians present tonight. Good evening. Kodi ajamata technology ya uvuta nikwambie. We need to get started. Yeah. Thank you, Dan and Manyasa Band. Let's get started. Tonight we have a chat on code of ethics in the Malawi's construction industry. Now, I would like to start by explaining a few things. In the daily papers, sometimes we see lawyers being punished. I'm going to suspend lawyer for 6 months. Even medical doctors, accountants, ICAM. I know good when you're laughing. Accountants, ICAM. I'm going to suspend the auditor for 3 years. But you never see engineers, architects, or surveyors suspended or punished. Never. Never. Surveyors, architects, engineers, you never see them being punished, being suspended. It's simply because, next slide, it's simply because we tend to shield each other. The engineering field, architects, surveyors, lawyers, accountants, it's called a profession. It's a profession because it has to adhere to a certain minimum standard of code of ethics. That's why it's a profession, it's not any other field. And especially engineers, architects, surveyors, we deal with human life. Ubanga design a bridge, ekokoloka. Kalonga, we saw people dying because bridge nakokoloka. We have seen buildings collapsing, certified by architects, certified by structural engineers. No one gets punished. No one gets punished. Koma lawyer akangoja ndrama ya client, sana pia muntu yai 3 years suspension. Wango batu. Sana pia no one has died. People have died on roads because of road accidents, for potholes. I would say drum holes. No one gets punished. I remember my friend Alfred in Kema works for NBS Bank. His Merc got damaged because of a pothole. He tried to sue RA and the like, nothing worked. But I felt sorry for him because his car was roadworthy. The road was not car worthy. So we in the construction sector, we tend to defend each other. We tend to shield each other. Next slide, please. So I have to use. Now, I'll give an example. This is the Sanja Road. By that time, I used to work for China Railway as a consultant. It's the contractor who built that road. Now, I'll give you a background. Kunabwera cyclone. Inakokorama bridge, the social media was awash kutukwa na Chinese contractor. Malemba zotukwa na zindizi. But I knew the truth. So I wrote a detailed sequence of events. But because by that time, Naibe Facebook page, I sent Kenani, Switzerland. Can you post this? And I want people to answer these questions. That post changed the whole narrative. And the blame shifted from the contractor to roads authority and the consultant. Are we together? Because the contractor implements a design prepared by a consulting engineer, approved by the client roads authority. Of course, he has the responsibility of checking the design. Now, because of public pressure, Malawi Institute of Engineers instituted an investigation as what happened. It's 4 years down the line. The report is Siguturuka. I was interviewed. I gave my side of story. Consulting engineer was interviewed. The client was interviewed. But because I know much of the blame went to us as engineers, we have shielded each other to date. And the public is having a poor road at the end of the day. Now, I'm speaking this on authority because I was involved on that project. Transport Minister Hala speaks on poor workmanship on Sanja Road construction. It's a failed project. Government concedes it has failed Malawians on Sanja Road construction. It's in the daily papers. But no one holds an engineer, an architect, or a surveyor to account for whatever they have done. Now I had to tell Kenani everything. And that changed the whole narrative because the contractor now had to speak. Could you know, this is what we are these proposals we gave, but we are shot down on many other ways. But it changed the whole narrative and the issue. According to contractor would have been punished, blah blah blah. But because the engineer, we defend each other. That's why we have poor infrastructure in our country. And I say that with no regrets or conflict in mind because I know what I'm talking about. Can we go to the next slide? You see, when you go to the south, top African countries with quality roads, number one is Namibia. It's number one in Africa. It's scored 5.2 on the parameters used for measuring that. And number 23 in the world, beating some European countries. Number 2, South Africa. And Namibia has maintained that for the past 18 years. Same with South Africa. Number 3, Rwanda. Number 4, Cote d'Ivoire. Number 5, Mauritius. Then Morocco, Kenya, Botswana, Cape Verde, then Senegal. Now, out of these 10, 4 are within SADC. Within SADC. And they've made it in the top 10 in Africa and top 45 worldwide. Now, when I was doing this research, I found that 7 of those have effective code of ethics and punitive measures which are prosecutable. And the bottom 15, where Malawi is, no code of ethics, no punitive measures, we are nothing prosecutorial. Could he be taken to court for poor workmanship? Now, I concluded that the effectiveness of code of ethics and punitive measures for their architects, their engineers and surveyors in those countries is what leads to good quality roads. And an availability of that in countries like Malawi leads to what we have on our roads. Poor infrastructure roads, talk of buildings, even Maunegeda Nyumba, design. We go to design many. Was it an architect who designed this building? No code of ethics, no standards. Yet someone goes at the end of the month, withdraws money per ATM, thinking he has earned a living. He's just getting paid a salary, not earning it, because we don't do the right work. There's a difference, getting paid a salary and earning a salary. Others earn their salary, others get paid a salary. Next slide. Now, this is out of curiosity. It was part of my research, just my curiosity. You see, the funny part about Malawi is, in Malawi we do things, and that's talk Peter Uku. If you know, we are Malawians who go this way. Oh, Manyasa band. You see, you find that you go to MHC, Brant Water Board, Long Water Board, Southern Water Board, Northern Water Board, Roads Authority. These are clients that issue construction work. You find that the project engineers are not registered. The architects of those corporations are not registered. The surveyors are not registered. But they supervise work designed by engineer Paul Kulemeka, who is a professional registered engineer with extensive work. Apanga supervised by Mundwankulu. Munwoti, you respect him in the field. You know, I don't think a 2-year, like a graduate, at 2 years, and a question where Paul Kulemeka. Never, it can't happen. Even my work, you can't. Who are you? You're college. Panga Karapansi. That's a fact. Someone whom you respect and look up to in the profession. How can you check their work? You can't do that. And that is one of the bases of poor infrastructure in our country. It's high time Malawi Institute of Engineers, Malawi Institute of Architects, Malawi Institute of Surveyors, we started engaging these people. Could never employ a project engineer, a project architect or surveyor who is not registered. In law terms, in no way a lawyer who is admitted to the bar can be supervised by a lawyer who is admitted to the bar. Can't happen. It doesn't happen. But in our profession, we allow it. I always say this. In Malawi, we tend to praise and worship mediocrity. We praise and worship mediocrity, especially in the construction industry. And we industry au vekwa mbili ndianga ya construction. I remember when I was in Botswana, I was trying to get registered with the engineering, the ERB of Botswana. They are so strict. They want to see the CVs of your lecturers. I had to ask for my CV in Dr. Fares, Dan Fedes Mwale, Aina Kochawa, Engineer Ngoma. I had to go for their CVs. They want to see is he a registered engineer. All right? Now, if your lecturer is not registered, most of them, or architect, registered architect or surveyor, they won't allow you to be registered. It's happening within SADC region. And in no way someone can be a lecturer without practicing for 15 years minimum. Can the architect, can the surveyor, that's a fact. I'm talking of what is Ujidiga within SADC region. Koma kunogo wankuza ndi decision degree pa adini, you know this is the truth, yeah? Kuti wankuza ndi dinki pa but still master's degree in the lecturer without any practical. My kumarunna mangati our architect wango dinkura pa and lecturer. You haven't been on site, you don't know the dynamics on site, and you come to teach people about engineering, about architectural work, about surveying work. I'm trying to joggle our minds as far as our industry is concerned. These are things we need to be. I'll share this afterwards, the presentation and the actual work that I did. But I want us to have an understanding of where things have gone wrong, why we have got poor roads and buildings in our country. Do you know? Next slide. You know, because we worship and praise mediocrity, we don't even know who our heroes and our celebrities are. And opanga pokos for social media, they are celebrities in Malawi. You know that, huh? Social media noisemakers in Malawi, they are celebrities. They are heroes because that's part of mediocrity that we worship in our country. Now, from whatever is happening in the industry, and again, work that's been done in terms of research and everything, there is a gap between the theoretical aspects of on code of ethics and the practical aspect of it. And again, what I did was trying to evaluate the effectiveness of the code of ethics in our industry, engineering industry, construction industry. So, you see, ethics are part of a system, are like a system. You don't see ethics because they're not tangible. It's a soft part of the construction industry. What you see is a road, a bridge, a building, a port, an airport, a railway. You see that. But ethics, you won't see that. You still need ethics. Are we together? Now, when someone is building the systems, but everything that is built based on proper ethics will last long. But everything built on something that's not ethical, in the 2 years, my potholes say once. It's like you're trying to carry water using a sponge when you're building roads without proper systems. One of them being ethics. I remember sometime, sorry, I'll say this, but no apologies. I remember sometime when I met Chakwera before he was president, I asked him, why must I believe in you? He said, I want to build systems that have been broken. So that touched my heart because I am a believer of systems. Before you do anything else, konzagai system, then thereafter, whatever you do will never crumble because it has been built on a solid rock, a solid foundation. Unfortunately, Kundale systems cannot be seen. People want to see a road. People want to see a building. They don't want to see, nabangama systems. What I hired to 5 years to say in my systems. We want to see what? That's the challenge about politics. But in actual sense, if we think deeply, systems are the center of economic development. Once you build systems, let's go next slide. Next slide, gentlemen. Chafueras. All right. So now, I was looking at the institutional capacity to achieve prosecutorial benchmarks. The code of ethics must be able to be administered in such a way that at the end of the day, depending on the cases, there can be prosecution of the individuals that are on the wrong side. As well as, if you look at the National Constitution Industry 1996, says industry conduct is governed by a code of ethics which condemns fraud and corruption and mandates players to abide by its provisions. But when you look at the code of ethics, NCIC, what are we trying to adhere to? Because it's as good as being empty. Next slide. Now, Transparency International says construction industry in Malawi is the most corrupt relative to other industries. That's TI. Now you wonder why Malawi is lagging behind. Because we are redoing the same work. For instance, Mugamanga and Seo grade 1. Engineer, you agree with me and Paul. Before you do reconstruction, 25 years minimum. With proper maintenance, proper where you can do fog spray, or you can do rejuvenation, etc. Or resealing where necessary, or you want to do asphalt paving Pamwamba, 25 years before you do reconstruction. But in Malawi, we have seen roads being done after 7-10 years. Why? And in Maria? Wajibasula. 3 years, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was 3 years, you're right. And nobody has been taken to task. Nobody has been prosecuted. Nobody has been punished. Now, we are told that this is the most corrupt industry. And Kamdoni Sur 2017 says, laws are either ignored or deliberately contravened. There is a lack of strategies and resources to detect, deter, or prevent unethical practices. And to prevent unethical practices, you require code of what? Ethics. As well as to deter unethical practices, you require code of ethics. And that is missing in our construction industry. Next slide. Now, you see, good working ethics is the best way of combating corruption and supersedes any anti-corruption controls. A good working ethics supersede any anti-corruption control that an institution can put in place. And without that, how can you manage corruption in the industry? Next slide. Now, I read quite extensively about 15 or 18 definitions of a code of ethics. Now, I summarized all those into one that captures the aspects that others have come up with. So, I define code of ethics as a formal, written, and distinct set of moral standards, principles, values, expected practices that define acceptable behavior by individuals and institutions with the purpose of protecting the interests of individuals as a person, institutions, professions, and the public, the road user, the tenants, or whoever buys the house. They have to be protected by the code of ethics. Can we go to slide number 13? The next one. Are we there? Now, the importance of a code of ethics. Number one, as I said, it supersedes any anti-corruption what? Controls. Again, promotes integrity and curbs corruption. Next slide. it forms a consensual basis foundation for behavior. And again, it enhances a corporate reputation for a company as far as the code of ethics is effective and is progressive. So these are some of the importances of the code of ethics. We can go to the next slide. So I came up with 5 purposes of COE based on the literature that I reviewed, and it maintains public trust, as well as it gives consistency in dealing with issues. There's no impartiality or anything of that sort. Next slide. Now, when you summarize everything, you find that the first aspect, integrity, confidentiality, serving the public interest, is about respecting the rule of law. Again, it helps in improving impartiality. And again, it helps in ensuring being responsive to issues raised by stakeholders and the public. We can go next slide. You see, we talk of improper tendering practices. I'll focus on bid cutting. You know, most of the times, like consulting engineers, you agree with me, and architects, surveyors, when you're doing materials investigation, for instance, if it's a road, my intervals, 50, 20 meters, the minimum, is 500, is 20 or 50, my center line investigations for the materials. 25? Yeah, so it's 25, 20 meters intervals. And that's the most difficult work, and the cracks, like the critical aspect of a road design. Report consultant, 1 kilometer apart. Of course, it's allowed when you find 25, and the results seem to be homogeneous. You can forgive someone for doing 50 or a kilometer, 500 meters, as long as the results seem to be the same. Consultant yatenda anzake alima 20 million kwacha iyeyo 50 million kwacha pa materials investigations pali 0. I've seen that happening. Apanga investigate material abanji nchito. That's why Zambiri consultants can be architects or surveyors amapanga investigation when the work is taking place, and that leads to huge variations of works. Contract 2 billion ya figure 3 billion, 4 billion, because there was no proper investigation of materials. And I know I've worked elsewhere, like Namibia, Botswana. If variation ya kura 1 billion more than 5% ya construction works, the chances for the consultant to be blacklisted are high. But in Malawi, no one holds anyone, an architect, a surveyor, or engineer, accountable. Kaya project ipanga double, and it's purely because there was poor design. Some things we are missed, we are omitted. Their design, you find the good next tender Aguinaso. Nobody cares, but it's the public at the end of the day that pays the price. And how does the public pay the price? You pay the price through, like for roads, vehicle operational what? Costs. Because a poor road, within 2 years, potholed. Malawi munomo ngati pali dziko limene matairo di endi mashock absorbers amenda malonda ndikutiko ku Malawi kuno. And it's purely because of poor roads. Nothing else. We're not going to is because of poor roads. Now, the cost of constructing a poor road is transferred to the road user. The cost of building a poor structure, like nyumba or whatever it is, goes to the tenant or the one that buys that house because of huge maintenance costs. And nobody is held accountable. Nobody cares. It's high time our professional institutions behaved like Malawi Law Society. It's high time that construction professional institutions behaved like ICAM, Institute of Chartered Accountants, Medical Council of Malawi, whereby doctors are punished, suspended. Because when you suspend someone, because you have withdrawn their right to economic activity, without that, it's free for all. Kadimozi, you talk of intimidation by powerful figures. Maga andalefe. Tenda hii mumpaso wa good. Mubange zoteka mumpaso wa good, and it's very common. Or we will give a design to meet the budget kopeka wandale. Nanji CDF unde CDF unde I don't know. Nali kumuzi kuna da bridge ya Mangalasti ndi CDF chi apartment cha kwakale. And what to use ka bypass mbalimu because CDF yani ya pila drama. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Now, I remember in Namibia, I was the engineer for the road from, it was 20 kilometers. It was taking Namibia to Victoria Falls, Zambian side. So, Pohamba Upanga campaign, one of the key projects was that particular road. Okay? Now, he said, I'm retiring next year. My term is coming to an end next year. Before Ajani, my term ends. Now we met as management of Roads Authority in Namibia and discussed. Now, people are saying, let's assure him. So I was supposed to draft the letter for to the president. I said, no. President, we can please him now and disappoint him later. We will be postponing the disappointment. Or in law terms, we'll be adjourning the disappointment to a later date. Rather, let's tell him the truth. Good is this because of A, B, C, D, E. Let's suppose it's 220 kilometers. Tipange focus per 110 kilometers. People will be happy that side. Eventually, everyone agreed to the idea, and we had to do that as the way forward. What is my point? We need to tell politicians the truth. We need to stand our ground and tell politicians the truth. Because they don't design, they don't supervise work, but they give them options, let them make decisions. And at that time, we had 18 months, but no, the way we are moving and the like, take care or no. But because I came up with a solution which everyone agreed to, we did that, and the CEO went and briefed the president and everyone. They agreed to that, and we did that, and off we went. That's it. No two ways about it. Next slide. So, Code of Ethics is one of the set of tools on their own are not wholly sufficient. It takes an institution. I'm happy, like Northern Regional Water Board, they have got what they call Institution Integrity Committee within the organization that oversees implementation of Code of Ethics. Okay. And according to our Anti-Corruption Bureau, and again the Malawi Public Services regulations, every public institution is supposed to have an institution integrity committee to oversee implementation of Code of Ethics. And I can say without fear of contradiction, one of the institutions that has done that well is the Northern Region Water Board. Next slide. So, causes of non-adherence to Code of Ethics, we've got mere salaries and very good. Selfish desires, stiff competition for fewer jobs, and sometimes no code of ethics at all. Next slide. Now, I'll draw much on the selfish desires and stiff competition. This forces many to go unethical, simply because they want to win the tender and get it. They'll undercut prices, knowing that on site they'll do mathematics, and off they go. Contractors, I think concrete class 15, 20, yeah, blinding ija. Akajipanda, Reverend Kajipanda, you're going to surveyor, maybe you can help me. Cement is about 5 to 6 bags per cubic meter, isn't it? Yeah, class 23. 5 bags, 6 bags per cubic meter. Winner, up under price, as Gamania 3 bags per cubic meter, or 4 bags per cubic meter. Kuma winner tender. And Zaga Bangakot based on the actual requirements per cubic meter, yani, ya cement. We end up with poor infrastructure. Mumatenda document makala rate breakdown. No one checks that. Just a white paper gudi abanga breakdown your rate. How did you build up your rate to get where you are? Because of stiff competition, many go into unethical what? Practices. Next slide. Some organizations don't have any code of ethics, especially in the construction industry. No COE at all. Nothing. They don't care about ethics. You can do anything you want, but they don't say no code of ethics at all. Next slide. If employees do not perceive senior managers to be complying, they might not comply themselves. Mabwana saying my junior officers, then you are grooming corrupt and unethical professionals in the industry. And this is common in our construction industry. Now, how should a code of ethics be drafted if it is to be effective? Next slide. You must be clear about what problem that the code of ethics seeks to address. And again, what are the unethical issues that are bound to arise in your organization? So these are some of the questions you need to ask yourself when drafting a code of ethics. So next slide. A code of ethics can be rendered ineffective because of the way it was drafted. Poor design and poor what? Implementation. Next slide. There is a lack of information on unethical practices, which makes it difficult to assess and address their prevalence. That is the Chartered Institute of Building. When I was doing this research, I found out that in Malawi, there is literally little literature on the code of ethics in our industry. Almost barely nothing. Almost barely nothing. But elsewhere, it's a huge topic. It's a huge topic. That shows that as a country, we don't care about code of ethics. There's no information about code of ethics. Next slide. And again, when drafting the code of ethics, you need to take a bottom-up approach, whereby you involve all the employees in drafting the code of ethics. Let them realize the need for a code of ethics and what you're trying to address. In that aspect, you bring in a sense of ownership. It's not something it's not something that you have just you have shoveled down on them, but it's something that they have been involved in developing it. Next slide. Again, people need to be trained. When the COE is being drafted, it must be in such a way that there is staff development and training programs in the same area of ethics. There are a number of things I can mention, but look at the, many people say the code of ethics are tiger papers. Paper tigers. Komano is in itself ineffective. A very good code of ethics, like a document, nice cover. It's empty, there's nothing. Just blah, 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 blah to the end. Nothing. A paper tiger. Just to scare people that we are having code of ethics that we're implementing. And again, there's got partial implementation, lack of compliance, not sanctioned, everything, no prosecutorial benchmarks. Kuti muntu mungapanga prosecute after your found kuti they are being unethical. Next slide. And again, they tend to look like Kungonsa donors, funders. We have it. We have it. So when drafting code of ethics, you must look at all those aspects. Put your good strategies to implement what you have formulated. Now, next slide. If the code of ethics, next slide please. Slide number 30. Now, if the code of ethics are to have an impact on behavior, they must have a practical application. Most of them that have gone through in our country are just theoretical. As I've said, paper tigers, not practical. There's no application as far as what I've seen is concerned. And again, the code of ethics must be consistent with the country. It must be linked. Next slide. Linked to existing legislation, so that you harmonize the existing civil and criminal laws, regulations of the country. You should have a benchmark, a standing point when you're taking them to court. I've sat, I'm an arbitrator as well, so I've done arbitration in Brazil. No, it was Brazil, and again in Namibia, in South Africa. You do arbitration. You look at the unethical issues, how our friends have drafted their code of ethics. Because the code of ethics are very clear and have got prosecutorial benchmarks and are linked to the existing laws and regulations of those particular countries. It's okay. Now, how do you internalize code of ethics? Like we're saying, if we implement code of ethics, there must be internalization. I'm happy when the dean was speaking, in the syllabus, mayamba kupanga za business ethics. Haya ifeyo nechulungamu kunalibe akochanuna mangati. Kunalibe. Pangono boka. Yalimbe. Aliba maisha lako hapo ndiyo, but it was construction methods and construction technology and like, but not necessarily there. But if you look at the syllabus of other polytechnics across the region, they have business ethics. And I'm at business in society. Whereby now that particular topic comes in and you have assignments, research on that particular topic, just to make sure you are teaching. And what akapita kunjako, they will be ethical. So internalization starts in college. And in other countries, Pacific primary school. In other countries, Cape Verde, if not Senegal, ethics are taught from primary school. They would internalization imayamba mwana alakati wangono. Then anga muntu wande vungarine muzi tama ethics ntakulakale ntengo mawongola uli wangono. So this subject of business ethics anayamba ku primary school is to be very one of those countries. From primary school civics yao, they speak about ethics, about corruption. They would internalization starts at a tender age as far as a human being is concerned. Next slide, please. I think you can jump that one. You can jump that one. Okay. Let's still go back. Okay, on that one. Chilipunda and Kaima 2015, they say that the enforcement of code of ethics must include proper disciplinary action. And offenders should be banned from practicing depending on the offenses. Which I said earlier on, my lawyers, they get banned, suspended. Doctors, I know one doctor, America, akusambisa nkhalamba. You get the point? Medical doctor, wako your medicine, wakom. Because anamupanga ban for some time. Reason, he was unethical. So, the enforcement of the code of ethics is what is lacking in our institutions. MEI, MIA, MIS, construction sector, even NCIC. We should learn from Malawi Law Society, Institute of Chartered Accountants, if we are to help Malawi rebuild herself. Next slide. You see, this guy, Fairwings, and professionals in the construction industry consider the needs of their clients more than their professional responsibilities to other stakeholders. Kungofuna osangala sa client, osamuza chilungamo, because whatever you are building, it has other stakeholders, the tenant. Osangona mtumayani, my client. You rather do a proper job, usira panjira, and finish the groguno, you protect the interests of the tenant. If it's a road, you protect the interest of the drivers, of the road users, of the drivers, and those who own vehicles and whatever uses the road. Next slide. Now, the Malawi's National Anti-Corruption Strategy, legally advocates the establishment of institutional integrity committees in all public institutions and university. As long as you are a public institution, you must have an institutional integrity committee. If there are public institutions listening to me tonight, if you want to know how to properly establish an IIC, go to Northern Region Water Board. They have a very perfect IIC and how they're implementing it. No wonder Northern Region Water Board akapanga akostia japakatipa the performance yao amakanga the best performing parastatal. It's not by coincidence. Some 2-3 years ago in a row, best performing parastatal, Northern Region Water Board, because they have an IIC as far as I'm concerned. And again, later on, we'll see there are also a code of ethics, how they're implementing it. In Nigeria, they have got what they call a code of conduct bureau. Apart from anti-corruption bureau, they have got a code of conduct bureau. Just a parastatal that wants to oversee how code of ethics are being implemented in public institutions. That's how serious our friends are. In Hong Kong, the housing authority has made it compulsory for all general contractors to develop well-written code of ethics to qualify for public works tenders. They're good in the condition when tendering for when you are submitting a bid document. You are bidding for a job for a client. What do we know? A code of ethics. Do you want it? And they will evaluate it. Is it being implemented? Is it progressive one? That's how serious they are. So it's like a mandatory requirement for every contractor, every consultant, a current code of ethics for them to be considered for any tender. That's how serious our friends are. Are we together? And again on that one, who imposes the sanctions? It's the professional bodies. The way MLS does. Now, in terms of designing of an effective code of ethics, next slide. There are 5 things. So after I read several literature on designing of code of ethics, I came up with 5. Next slide, please. I came up with 5 that summarizes. Nigeria. Next slide and next slide. Hong Kong, Tabirako. Just in Nigeria. Now the next slide. So from whatever I read, an effective code of ethics must have those parts: clarity of purpose, leadership and implementation, preventive measures for breaches, background of the code, awareness and training. I'll zoom in into each one of those one by one. Good to know. Next slide, please. Now, when I corrected the data, I considered the 10 parastatals, state-owned companies that are involved in construction works. So out of the 10, I sampled 5, and on professional bodies in the construction sector, there are only 5. MIA, MIS, MIE, ASEM, and to a great extent NCIC. So I sampled these 5 professional bodies in the construction industry. Contractors in the unlimited category, there are 46, I took 10. And then consultants, there are 46, I took 5. Nothing architects, surveyors, and engineers. So I had 5 consulting firms to evaluate their COEs. Next slide, please. Now, for clarity of purpose, a code of ethics must have a clear agenda, which must be stated within it, either as a preamble or as an introduction. This must be very, very clear, the intention of the code of ethics. If you really are serious, even inform the people that the breaching of this code of ethics, you end up in prison, you'll be prosecuted. So the purpose must be very clear. Next slide. And the background of the code, why and how the code was formulated, and the improvement of it as well. All that background, how it be monitored, supervised, reviewed, everything must come out clear in the code of ethics. Next slide, please. And there must be awareness for new employees, training for existing employees, and again, continuous improvement. You handle a case, by handling that case, you find good, but some gaps. Then you revise and review the code of ethics to now address the gaps that are there. I remember Ndiriku Minister of Trade, I'm an abrasive person. I'm really abrasive. So I found a number of things. I can't punish this one. I can't punish this employer. Now you go back to the office. Some of the regulations, policies are still in draft format. Others have been in draft since 1999. Draft. 99, draft. Others have been draft since 2007. Draft format. Imagine. And the ministry was still moving forward. But we had to push now, okay, let's work on these regulations. So that they get approved and gazetted, and we're able to what? To take people, to hold people accountable. I got to Minister of Trade and Industry. Regulation. Now, you are tied. You can't do anything because we don't have essential goods and services bill. Law, tiribe. Now, whereby our friends, they have got essential goods and services bill, law. Would you know, sugar, nchere, cooking oil, cement, those are critical. Government controls the price at all cost. And we are busy drafting one with the next parliament. It's about to approve. But you know, we have essential goods and services bill. The same thing about what we call this thing, economic sabotage bill. Mumba want to see you. They come to see you, they're saying, if you producers are cooking oil or bread flour, we are being forced by our friends to increase the price. But why should we increase the price? We are buying materials locally in Kwacha. We are not affected by Forex. Price what? Collusion. But we don't have an economic sabotage what? Bill. To hold them what? Accountable. You understand? So we're now working on that. my point is good, you identify gaps and improve. So even in code of ethics, you must look at the gaps, then improve. So it must be designed in such a way that there's continuous what? Improvement based on the gaps that you are facing as you deal with cases as you move forward. Next slide. What am I about? Implementation strategy and leadership. Again, how it's to be implemented must be very clear, and the processes must be transparent. The issue of integrity, institution integrity committee, in companies, as per our anti-corruption strategy, every public institution, and I think the private companies can also borrow it. Akumbo mwendi company yanu ya, I don't know kama inayo code of ethics ndikudziwa, so I'm putting on a spotlight. Akulemeka kwa nikeke kode akocha mlima company yanu Miranda, my dear, there I see the same. You know, do you have institutional integrity committee to oversee implementation of code of ethics? Next slide. Next slide. Tamang entire turn. There will be questions afterwards, and we take and remove from Swaba. What's in the tower? Now, there must, as I said earlier on, there must be punitive and disciplinary measures. Okay? And as I said earlier on, must be linked to, clearly with existing legislation and disciplinary procedures. There must be liaison or agreements with professional bodies where professionals can be reported to be disciplined. Now, you look at MEI. And many analembesa not getting professional registration, but just getting the engineer. They are a fraction of all engineers in the country. Same thing with MIA, I believe the same. Same thing with MIS. Now, if abanga mistake where does the employer take them to? Nowhere. And that to my lawyer, every lawyer not allowed to go into court without renewing his what? Practicing license. Same thing with ICAM. Same thing with medical doctors. They renew their licenses every year. Engineers, architects, surveyors. Where are we? What are we doing? Nyimbo maimba Mulinani, my favorite song ya Wambali. Wakukaka malango iwe walimtazi kuswaso. Wakufinyekeza ise titifiske. Oh, mchichewa. Auna kuti akupanga malamulo kuti fijani tikwanise koma iwo in the forefront opanya malamulo acha. And that's what we are doing in Australia. We are the ones in the forefront. If there's an industry that has derailed this country a lot than any other industry, it's a construction industry. Because when we talk of economic development, we talk of infrastructure in a country. And if we have got poor infrastructure, the country cannot go forward. We are to blame for the mess in Malawi as construction professionals. We are very unethical. We are taking this country backwards. And at the end of the day, we have an easy excuse. Andy Boma, my politicians, are they designers? Do they come on your computer and work on your card? No, it's us. Let's tell them the truth. Let's go to the next slide. Next slide. Now, the first parastato I analyzed based on those 5 aspects of an ideal code of ethics. Clarity of purpose. The first parastato, it was clearly stated in the introduction. So evaluation, it met the what? The aspect. But the rest, there was nothing. Okay? Disciplinary measures linked to other policies, not detailed and clear. So, Maumulungu Pangono partially met the aspect. So I scored them 2 out of 5. Because, and again, they were just generic statements. Just political statements. Okay, let me make it clear. They were just political statements. Generic what? Statements. The second one, again, 2 out of 5. The same. Brief rain introduction. And again, well detailed in terms of my measures. But they have again made it clear by combining with the disciplinary code of conduct. They had 2. So I gave them again 2 out of 5. Next slide. The third parastatal, this one got 4 out of 5. And that one I can say without fear of contradiction, that was Northern Region Water Board. They got 4 out of 5. Very detailed. The only thing they missed was the background and how it would be improved and other stuff. But everything, implementation strategy, and again, disciplinary measures, though they explained measures, but we just in brief, not detailed. So I said they made the aspect partially, but they made the 4 out of 5 of the criteria for an ideal code of ethic. Then the other one, our day is Nwachura, 1 out of 5. Angantengele code. Masiku anot ndibe lawyer. 1 out of 5. Next slide, please. Then we go to professional bodies. Mavuto kwambiri. The first one, 2 out of 5. Second one, 2 out of 5. Third one, 2 out of 5. Next slide. And again, so out of the 5 professional bodies, the other 2 are liberated. Can you go back on that other slide? Go back. So, Labor Goody, no COE, draft. Okay, so the first one, it was in draft form. That was the MIA. I don't know whether Papa Mlamari is like, you're done now, huh? Are you sure? Is it there on the website? Kumbo, where's the SG? SG Abuela? Aurua Bangono? It was done. Okay, all right, that's fine. Thanks. Congratulations for that. But at that time I was doing this study, it was in draft format. The second one, again, it was a draft was being developed. They just gave me a 2-page document. While the other one was very basic and they had only about 3 pages, not even detailed. And Zatu, like you look at the other countries, it will be 30, 40 pages, detailed. And you know, good, if I is limbe, I have to be ethical by all means, otherwise zindivuda. Winner, just being seen having lunch with a contractor, they can report you for that. When you're a client or a consultant, you are having lunch with a contractor. You meet with a restaurant, capital hotel. You see a contractor at the desk, you're the Taiwan hotel. But being seen on the same table, they say, what were you discussing? That's how serious they are as far as implementing the code of ethics is concerned. I remember one time I went to the ocean with my wife and family. We happened to be in the same hotel with a contractor. Mamai, the day we were checking in, he was checking out. But they are serious. Anyone can report you after they know good. Are we together? Let's go on forward. I'm happy to see Council Noich Amanda, the shortest mayor we have had in Malawi. Good to see you, Council. Thank you. Contractors. That one, 3 out of 5, was a Chinese contractor that I evaluated. Then the contractor number 2 was European contractor that I evaluated, 1 out of 5, 3 out of 5. Then the contractor number 3 was local. And this one, I should mention him, EMAC Construction, Chintengo. I was happy. Very detailed, and I was like, 4 out of 5, even beating European contractors that are here, Chinese contractors that are here. I was impressed. A local contractor can have a detailed code of ethics that made 4 out of 5 of the ideal structure of a code of ethics. Next one. Now, the consultants, I only did the 3 because in our nadibiletu, nothing, 0, 0, 0. Even the Association of Consulting Engineers Malawi, 0. How do they hold consultants accountable? 0, nothing. NOTHING. Controller number 4 was European, 4 out of 5. Number 5, local contractor, 1 out of 5. Those are the contractors, prostators, consultants that I evaluated. Next one. Oh yeah, consultant. Sorry, it was prostators. It was 3 out of 5. Consultants, out of the 5, only 1 had a code of ethic. The rest 0. I then reached out to other 5. 0, 0, 0. 15, 0, 0, 0. Then that's the about and so out of 15 that I consulted, only 1 had a code of ethics. But they call it business ethics policy. That's how they call it themselves, business ethics policy. So I did evaluate it. It made 3 out of 5. But again, it was partially, because it's just a 2-page document. Then it just touches on the surface of what is about to be written in a code of ethics. Now, let's go to the next slide. The bracket of purpose. So out of out of the 5, only 4. Now, the one that made kind of purpose were 4. Background 0. Awareness only 1. Improvement only 1. Strategy, implementation, and leadership only 1. Measures of disciplinary 3. Then the next slide, you find the good next slide. Magambaza background. Out of the 10 prostators earmarked for this research, only 4 had code of ethics. Not prostators are bomber. What are both are more minus comma mutimo? Only 4 of those had code of ethics. I even went to those that are outside construction industry. But only 4 had code of ethics. Next slide. Professional bodies, we tackled 3. First parameter, only 3 made that. Then 0, 0, 0, 0. Then come out 0 to action. At least. And again, next slide. 2 of the 3 COEs were still in draft form, as I said. And again, these companies, these bodies have been there for the past 15 years. Next slide. Contractors. Those the result. We're talking of the first criteria, 4 met. Second one, only 1. Awareness and training, only 2. Improvement 0. Implementation strategy 2. Disciplinary measures 4. But again, I looked at 25 contractors. Only 4 had. The rest don't have. Consultants, it was only 1. So they met the 3 aspects of that. Next slide. Next slide. On consultants, yeah. So it was only 1 out of 5. So they made that particular consulting firm did well. They are 3 out of 5. Now, unlike other countries, next slide. Unlike other countries, consulting firms have their own code of ethics. They don't rely on ASEM. They don't rely on MIA or whatever. They have their own. Code of ethics. Now, let's go to the next slide. Managerial implications and recommendations. I'll look at the last point, implementation. A weak link in the fight against corruption. Other anti-corruption tools are dependent on effective code of ethics. All other anti-corruption tools that you can come up with, they are hugely dependent on the implementation of an effective code of ethics. Without that in any industry, corruption will reign supreme. That's why Transparency International says in Malawi, the construction sector is the most corrupt relative to other industries because we have no code of ethics. Professional bodies, I'm glad Mia has one. I'm happy that way. And I shared that time with Elena, the previous GSR. I'm going to share my research on that. Can you also, as you are working on this with the draft format, have this to compare when you are drafting your code of ethics document. Next stage. Next slide. Next slide. Again, NCIC should include code of ethics as part of requirements for registration and renewals for licenses. Contractors, consultants. Then I'll renew every year. That's when you finger them. Huh? I mean, just one. The way MLS does. I know where else I'm getting a new license with MLS without some specific requirements. We need to do that if we are to take this country forward. And we, as professional, in the professionals in the construction industry, we need to take lead because we are the ones derailing the economic development of our country. And again, status must include that as a requirement with the code of ethics. During this project, we can need training, code of ethics. We are focusing on HIV training. Every contract HIV training. Yes, but do we have training on code of ethics? It must be part of a requirement on every project we are implementing in the construction sector. Because that is the only way we can help this country move forward as far as economic development is concerned, because infrastructure is the backbone for our development. Next slide. So, as I said, there's little research done in this area. I remember someone, an architect, called my wife yesterday that I wish I was in Blantyre to attend this, but I'll follow online because the topic your husband is tackling is one of the topics us in the construction sector, we skate around it. And that's true. We skate around this topic. One bit my tower. Because we tend to defend each other. We tend to protect each other. I don't know why, but we tend to be protective of each other. But at the end of the day, the cost is not only on us, but the country. And again, I believe that those that I shared with a number of companies that can you please look at this, can design the only thing that needs to be done, which I didn't do, probably for other people can research, is why is it that professional bodies and contractors, consultants in Malawi don't have code of ethics? Why? That's another topic for research. Code of ethics. Why don't we have code of ethics in the construction sector as far as our companies are concerned? Next slide. Then limitations for this research. So most of the documents I read were from outside Malawi. There were a few that have been done in Malawi, about 5. So far I found 5. Nabila Changopanga, whatever, 5 or 6. But the rest, about 20 something, were from other countries within SADC region. I don't go very far. I had to do within SADC region. What you should compare with is that, So that's what I came up with. Okay. The limitation of that most of the studies were done outside Malawi, not within Malawi. And again, unavailability of the code of ethics in our companies, again, limited, even with other, because I had few code of ethics to analyze and compare with the mirror that I had, an ideal code of ethics. Next stage, next slide. In terms of future research, basically I would recommend why don't we have code of ethics? The third point, research could explore reasons for absence of COEs within the construction industry. Why don't we do that? We're code of ethics in our professional bodies as well as companies and even institutions, public institutions that are supposed to be adhering to the Malawi Anti-Corruption Malawi National Anti-Corruption Strategy. Next slide. So, whatever we can do, internalization is key to the success of the code of ethics. We must internalize the code of ethics. You see, when you are on a project most of senior engineers tend to look down upon young engineers. But one thing you must remember, young engineers are more vibrant than old engineers. Because like now, my architects are panopawa ina Kumba, ina Miranda, Kumaro, mbani now ya. Ndi mata AI amenewa. They know a lot. They move with technology. They move with the other day I was joking with my friend. Kuma guy zona izikamba ngoja zinai to the youth that is AI panopa. Tiku does menezo or just joking politically. Just as a joke. You can't be talking of our old way of doing things in the construction industry to the young ones. I had some architects, surveyors, and engineers from Zimbabwe. I was their senior, but the guys were sharp. I had to be political for me to be sitting in the door. You get the point? I had to be sitting. Well, you have a meeting, you hear their views, you summarize as if it was your idea. I used to tell my wife, go first, Sitole. That boy is sharp. Sitole, that boy is sharp. But my meeting,
It's about time.
they call it progress. But too often, it's just performance. When you're talking of code of ethics and implementation strategies, Palibe engineer, how can you challenge, like a young engineer, challenge or post something to an old engineer? And in Napchabo Manja Gangapo, because of being abrasive. When I was in Botswana, the design yansel from Mtlaka to Masumo 5 kilometers. It's a one new one it's a bush, just Chile. I wrote the design and I said, I remember from kilometer 5.7 to 7.7, say una step. It was an error, maybe just whatever error. So I said, these drawings are okay, but the calculations, so I proposed redesign to the consultant and the client. But because the Sri Lankan engineer was in his 60s, he wrote me a nasty letter, I blush. So I made sure when I was complaining, raising that, I copied the client and other people to defend myself. In Africa, we did work on that particular section. It was exactly as I had said with the launch. At a society meeting, what's happening here, Mumba, is what I told you 4 or 5 months ago. It's happening on site. Because within the company, there was no way, if one Gulu, agupanga put aside one ngono. How do we manage each other a way out of this in the journey? So even the code of ethics should include such kind of scenarios. How can you deal with such scenarios, which I felt at that time was an ethical matter from my senior engineer, Shiraz, who was from Sri Lanka. There was a time the Growth Authority in Namibia, Henry Krieger. Vitumbiko, this white man is the most feared engineer in this country. You just hear Thomas Otsu. Good, no, it's not about that. It's about the technical stuff. No, I can't sign this letter. We argued and argued. Later on, he signed. And, you know, Conrad Lutombe, you should remember him. And I signed. That consultant called me for a cup of coffee. Right, we had to discuss it further, then responded, accepting journey, and the like. And that's how I end my respect within the institution. He can stand up to his ground. No? But in scenarios where pakuti ujaka hato apange mavuvu akane, how do you handle an ethical practice ya muntu wankulu kwa junior engineer when the junior engineer is actually right about what he's trying to say and what to put forward? So it an individual as a person. How do you handle that? Now it boils down to the integrity and the boldness of an individual engineer or architect or surveyor. Other than that, Ndiaguti Mavuto Kaoka. With all these remarks, thank you for listening. I'll open up questions now.
Osaiwala kupanga subscribe ku channel ya AMTV Malawi.